I'm Nick Hughes, and this is Founders Live Conversations. Okay, welcome to Founders Live Conversations. I am Nick Hughes. I'm the CEO and founder of Founders Live. And, occasionally we bring people on to really together have unique conversations around topics that are really important in our industry and the world. And today we have a very special guest. We have Zofia, is it Kierner?
Kierner. Pretty
Kierner.
Cool.
Kierner. Zofia Kierner, and she is from Boston, and very, very unique and cool, the fact, and she'll tell you more about it, but she's a very young entrepreneur. She's still in high school, but the things that she's already put together and accomplished are incredibly amazing. So first of all, Zofia, welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here and so good to talk to you and see you again.
I know. So we met, Zofia and I met actually in Seattle, and you were at the STEM high school. So tell us a little bit about how we met and how you came across Founders Live to start with.
Totally. So I've always been really into entrepreneurship. I started my first project when I was 8 years old. So I was always on the hunt for different opportunities where I can either get myself out there or learn more from other entrepreneurs. So Nick and I met at a Founders Live event in Seattle, which I found out about while attending probably some other entrepreneurship conference, to be fair with you. And I was then attending Tesla STEM High School, which was a STEM-focused high school in Seattle, Washington. And I just went to a random Founders Live event and happened to be really lucky to see Nick there at the start of his big world tour. So it was a really exciting opportunity. And then I ended up presenting my own project at a Founders Live event here in Boston after I moved here over the summer. So being part of the Founders Live community has always been really, really exciting for me. I've attended multiple events. I've presented at one of them. And now my nonprofit is actually partnering with someone who was a part of Founders Live to get a girl from Poland to also present at Founders Live. So it's a pretty interesting internet network of experiences.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And I remember, just to be honest, I was like, okay, how old are you? And, what's up? And, you've impressed me from day one, just so you know, and it's so cool. And I would like to talk about that. Most of your friends or most of your peers are maybe focused or distracted in other things, but what has attracted you? What is entrepreneurship in your mind, especially as so young? When I was in high school, I don't think I knew what that word meant. So I'm curious of how this all clicked so early for you.
Totally. I think it all stems from the idea that I've gotten and received a lot in my life. I've had a lot of really tremendous opportunities where I got to learn from a lot of really amazing people. And I felt a really big need to give back to my community. So the entrepreneurship that I'm part of is probably a little different than what a lot of people might imagine. So I run a nonprofit organization, which is really similar to running a business, but it's all about helping people. And for me, it's helping people across the world. So I'm originally from Poland. And when I was 8 years old, I visited a public Polish school. And even though I was born in Poland, I never actually attended school there. I moved to Finland pretty early on when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And at the age of 8, after visiting the school, I noticed that they're missing a few really key resources to be able to learn English, which is what I believe the most important language in the world, especially in business. So I wanted to collect some resources like English language books and donate them to the kids. And that's where entrepreneurship really clicked for me. I realized that even though I was really young, I could make an impact on people's lives. And that was so attractive to me at such an early age. It was never for making money or getting into college or anything like that. It was all kind of spun by this need to give back from what I received from this opportunity to travel the world and meet different people and learn a lot. And now looking back, I'm so glad that I made that decision so early on, because there's really no time to waste in our lives. And
Mhm.
being able to start so early on really gave me a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of fantastic people and gain so much experience that I can bring into other projects in the future as well.
Yeah. And what is making an impact and giving back? What does that mean to you? Maybe even put more words or describe that. Yeah, what does that mean?
Sure. Um, I think it means seeing a smile on the faces that I'm helping. So a lot of the projects that we do involve younger girls and getting them ready for a future. So the whole idea behind Girls Future Ready Foundation, which is what my project evolved into over the past few years, is helping girls from Central Eastern Europe be better prepared for a global career. And whether that is still donating those English language resources to kids in elementary schools or hospitals or kindergartens, it's seeing that the work that I make is helping someone even in a small way, whether they're more empowered to learn the language or they participate in a project that brings them out into the world and makes them more public and motivated to start something of their own. And to me, being someone who's 17, that's exactly what making an impact means, by touching people in very subtle ways to bring them to reach their full potential and get out there into a global career, give them more opportunities and more chances to grow.
Yeah. That's amazing. So walk us through, we're gonna kind of tie exactly what your organization does in this description, but what are the challenges of the young women that you are really looking to serve? Like what are they struggling with, and what are the challenges that you then can help them? What do you bring to them to help? But I'm just curious of, you know, being a, American, a United States citizen male here, I'm not 100% familiar with or understand maybe the specific challenges that they are experiencing. So, walk us through that a little bit, and then how you come in and help that.
Sure. So I already mentioned the mission of Girls Future Ready, and that stemmed from observations of the challenges that you're mentioning. So, as someone from Central Eastern Europe myself, I felt a really deep connection with a lot of my friends or family still in Poland or Central Eastern Europe. And I focus my work on a few key pillars that is something that I really observe needs help in Central Eastern Europe. The first one is English language skills. So a lot of people in Central Eastern Europe still don't speak English as well as they have to be able to get themselves out into the business world. So a lot of them can come to talk to you over coffee about how their day is going and introduce themselves. But once they get down to a more business related conversation with fluent English speakers, they will always lose. And that's what we're really trying to avoid, to instill these English language skills that they need for a career and not just for a friendly conversation. And the difference between those two is really, really big. So that's the one of the key pillars. The second one is public presentation skills. When I came to the US, I noticed that every school has a really well-developed theater program, that kids are taught how to speak, how to perform, how to use their voice and their body language. Also, all projects in classrooms are really focused on public speaking. So even in history or math or science, every project ends with a presentation. So you have to get out there in front of your class and present your idea. But people in Poland don't have that. In reality, the first big presentation that you do is at the end of your high school journey, where you present like your last senior project, and that's pretty much your only presentation. So not being able to present your ideas and present your argumentation and present your viewpoint is really, really critical in the moving world. A lot of future businesses are stemming just based off of conversation and generating of ideas. And if you don't know how to put your ideas out there, then you really can't grow anything big or make yourself notable in the business world. So second skill, public speaking. Third skill is confidence. I noticed that specifically girls from Central Eastern Europe don't have the same level of confidence as a lot of people in the United States. So just knowing that with the hard work that you put in, you can accomplish anything is really important, but we're still missing a lot of that in a lot of the education in Central Eastern Europe. So we're trying to instill this theory that no matter what obstacles you have to overcome, you will still make it to your goal. And that's the confidence part of it. And the last one is a global mindset, which is one of the most important key pillars, because we have to notice that the world is moving really, really fast and things are changing really, really, really fast. So if we're not ready for all these changes, then the world will just kind of pass by us. And so we have to notice that students from places like China or India or Singapore are really well prepared for success. And students in the US are also really well prepared for success. And we want to make sure that students in Central Eastern Europe know about that competition, know about how fast the world is moving, and get on that train sooner or later.
Yeah, all four of those are incredibly important. I guess the one that initially jumps out just from a thought process is so bringing and helping them with confidence. Where do you think that comes from? And how do you teach or instill confidence in a group of young women?
Totally. Teaching confidence is the most difficult thing you can teach, because it's not a simple class that you can teach. It's something that everyone has to develop themselves. But we like to use the same kind of American main strategy of teaching by example. So one of our main programs is called Her Story Project, and that's where we share the stories of girls that have already accomplished something. So whether that's a small project in their community or a bigger nonprofit or a business, when we share their story, it inspires other girls to get themselves out there. But if you're not really at that stage yet where you've created something of your own, you can also participate in a Her Story project with a mentor. So we have professional mentors in their fields that help girls execute a project with them. So working one-on-one, one girl, one mentor, one project, they create something with the help of a mentor. And then at the very end, they see, wow, I've done all of this. And no matter how much hard work went into it and how many obstacles I had to overcome, this is a product that I created and a product that I'm proud of. And that is really, really important to instill the first kind of step towards confidence. Then the second part is with our Girls Global Ready project. This project is based on pairing girls from Central Eastern Europe and the US to be language buddies. And by talking to girls in the US that we've seen are more confident and more driven to success, they see that there's really not that big of a difference between the two. And through conversation, learn that they can achieve much more if only they put their heart to it.
That's so great. So great. I love both of those projects and angles. I think they're really cool. And I just want to stop here and let everyone know, feel free to raise your hand for questions or, mention in the comments. This is a group conversation, and, we do have someone from Poland. I don't know if you know that, Zofia, but someone is here from Poland. And just want to maybe have Aga jump in here and say hi. I know she's here. If you want to just say hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to see you live. We didn't have the opportunity to talk. Yeah, we met in, January through Nicola's father. And the same day, yes. Yeah, and the same day, Zofia shared the info about Founders Live. That's why I met Nick. And now we are having a global conference for my nonprofit from Uganda.
Wow, that's
so thank you so much for your work.
Mm-hmm.
You are doing amazing stuff, and I hope that when this Uganda project is finished, we can make something great together, because I love your work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that would be great. Yeah, it's definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, and what Zofia mentioned about the education in Poland is 100% like true. We didn't have we still don't have public speaking. Like I was in Uganda and I was in the school and they have public speaking, and we don't have in Poland. We've got only this one big senior project, and then we don't know how to behave. So it's really important what you do, and finger crossed for your work. Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for validating everything I say. That's very important.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, on that topic, so public speaking skills are incredibly important, obviously. And, you know, look, at some point we will be gathering in person again, but how are you approaching, you know, you're doing a great job on camera, and, you know, I think that's a skill, right? Like to learn how to talk not only on a web camera that's sitting right here, but even maybe a professional camera that's more professionally shot. How are you helping women in that area now when, you know, the world has changed in the sense of you have to, it's almost a requirement to be at least quality, if not great, in front of digital audience at the same time having public speaking skills in front of a physical audience. How do you do that now?
Definitely. I mean, it's clearly different. I don't know, but I don't feel as nervous talking to a camera than as I do speaking in public, which I suppose is a good thing to have with how the world is right now. I had to learn this experience before I could apply it to my work. So I participated in a few summits online, either presenting live or just recording your speech and then sending it in. And that kind of taught me a little bit about how that is supposed to work and the way that we could maybe implement that. So right now, as a way to conclude all of our Her Story projects, so those are the mentor and girl partnerships from Central Eastern Europe, the way we conclude those is with a final video. So the girl has to get up in front of a recording device, whether that's a phone or a computer or just any sort of camera, and record herself talking about her project and explaining the work she did, which pushes her into that lane of public speaking. But that is pretty small scale. So that's only one girl that gets selected from the applicants for the Her Story projects. That's one thing. But on a bigger scale, everyone that applies to Her Story has to record a video. And that was even before COVID was implemented and everyone started switching to video. And that was a big push. Then the next level of that is all the online partnerships that we have, whether that's the Girls Global Ready project that I talked about, where we just pair girls one-on-one with mentors. They're talking through a camera, and even though it's FaceTime or Zoom or something like that, it's still different than being in person and gives you some sort of practice. And then the next one is the current program Together for Teachers, which is a direct response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We basically pair mentors from the US with English classes in Poland. So it's sort of like an expansion of the Global Ready program, where we want to just make a bigger impact and help teachers during this really difficult time. So this way, our mentors have to get up in front of a camera to talk to a class, but then you also have all the students in the class and the teacher that participate in the Zoom call.
Yeah.
So even though it's not exactly these huge business pitches that you do in front of a camera, it's getting familiar with it and understanding the way everything works, which we hope is a bigger step towards learning it in the future.
Yeah. So Allison asks, do you attend Toastmasters? And Allison would love if you want to jump in here and just say hi and give a little more context.
Hi, Zofia. So I go to Toastmasters and it has helped me dramatically. I'm not perfect, but definitely has helped me. And I know it's a global organization. Have you guys considered pairing up with Toastmasters? I mean, like, I'm running a club that is now going virtual, and it's kind of nice having Toastmasters. So now people can attend any club like virtually. Have you guys considered that?
I think I've heard of Toastmasters from someone at Founders Live before, but never actually attended it myself. Although it seems like a really good thing where we could actually get some of our girls to participate in that as well and learn more about public speaking, which could be really interesting. But have not looked into it yet.
We should connect. I'd love to have you.
Yeah, you two should connect. Hey, I have a follow-up question, Zofia. How did you develop your speaking skills if you didn't, you hadn't even heard of Toastmasters or whatnot?
I developed a lot of my public speaking skills first at school and then through just experience. And public speaking has always been a huge passion of mine. I was always that kid that participated in like speech and debate club, impromptu speaking, Model United Nations, Future Business Leaders of America, and stuff like that. So that really, all those extracurricular activities get you out there into participating in those public speaking activities. So I did a lot of after school things. I even went to the national competitions for Future Business Leaders of America last year for also a public speaking presentation. So it's just been a lot of practice, but I've also been pretty lucky to attend a lot of conferences with Girls Future Ready, whether I was a participant or a speaker there or running workshops. I love to share the mission of Girls Future Ready. And I think when thinking about the message that I want to get across, it becomes more important than any nervousness that I may have. So I like to think that that's how I learned, but everyone has a different strategy of acquiring those skills, which is really important to understand as well. So practice was something that really just worked for me.
Yeah. Let's go out 5 years. First of all, for you personally, what's after high school? Do you say, hey, I definitely want to go to university and college to do that? Or are you like, I am fast tracking on this, plan and growing this organization, and you may or may not attend, college or university?
I think college has always been on my to-do list. I can't really imagine myself not continuing my education because school is something that I really, really love and enjoy. So I'm going to be a senior in high school next year. So applying to colleges, still looking at different places where I could attend or different places where I could apply. But that is definitely on the list to do.
Good.
So hoping to do that, possibly, definitely continuing Girls Future Ready. And then maybe starting up another business, whether I'm in college or still at the end of high school, looking at how everything is going to play out. Things are pretty stressful at the moment with the load work that I have, but it definitely seems manageable and plausible for me to continue doing something involving business. So I want to go to first get an undergraduate degree with something that's more technology based, like data analysis or computer science, and then go into getting an MBA in business. So combining those two key skills to hopefully forming something in the future. So that's kind of the personal plan, but the plan for Girls Future Ready is in 5 years, hopefully seeing the girls that we impacted today or last week or will impact next week achieving something really, really big, whether that is running for political office or being in executive positions of international companies and getting themselves out there, going to really good schools across the world, being more proficient in English, getting more presentations or interviews and more publicity, and seeing how the work that I'm doing now with Girls Future Ready is helping people in the long run.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Follow-up direction here is, things changed pretty rapidly in the last 3 months. You are still in school, as a high schooler. Are you concerned about the future? Are you just curious about the future? What does next fall look like for you? Do you think college and university changes from that, that experience as a student? What does that look like? I mean, I'm asking just I'm curious from a high schooler viewing this whole situation.
Mm-hmm. To be very blunt, am I very nervous? Yes. Am I worried? Yes. But curious as well in a very good way. I do not know what the fall is going to look like. There are words of saying that we might go back on campus or might stay home or might do like a hybrid situation of like whoever can attend will attend, and if you cannot, just stay home and be involved in like a computer. And I just really want to be back on campus. So that's something that's pretty important to me, and I hope that it happens. So that's one part of it. I do not know how this will impact the college application process. All the SAT and ACT tests have been canceled so far until like September, which is really, really stressful as well, because you never know when you're going to have the opportunity to take the test and if that's going to be at a favorable time for you as well. So that's stressful. Any internships or plans for this summer have been completely canceled, which is also pretty stressful because that's important to be part of like a college application as well. So in general, whole process, very stressful. School, very stressful. Future, very stressful as well, but we're somehow getting through it. And I think there's nothing really we can do right now to fight against the situation. And the only thing you can do is take advantage of all your free time. So I started a new program that's a direct response to the pandemic. I also started a survey to see how COVID is impacting education across the world, and just trying to take the most out of what we have right now, utilize the free time, utilize the family time as well, since that's something that I've been pretty sad to be missing as I'm away at boarding school, but it is what it is, and we can't really change that right now.
Yeah, but I like the approach that, not only accept and, just accept and utilize the free time, but I think what you were already doing before this all happened, which I find very interesting, which observing a lot of founders, the way that we've experienced the downturn and in this whole process is, we still, focus on the things that you can influence. And there's so much right now that we have no influence over, that it just becomes stressful, and it becomes something that you can totally worry on the things that are out of your control. And a better response is, well, that's out there and it's, it's happening and I can't really influence it, but what can I influence? And, we all struggle with it. I struggle with those things as well sometimes, and you get all worked up. And so I think that, you are focusing on the things that you need to and that you can influence, and, continuing your mission forward. But it is important to understand quickly. And I think noticing you as well as especially people your age, it like turn on a dime, because, the old school thinking is over. And, what is applicable now with the new challenges and the new technologies in the world today, like you're focusing on today and moving forward, not trying to get the past back. So those are some things to think about. This is good. So Nehal has a question, and I would like to bring you into that if you want to unmute yourself. She's talking about do you take a content writer? But feel free to jump in here, Nehal.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Actually, I want to ask you one question. Like when you are speaking, like you are presenting yourself, do you need? Are you taking any kind of help, like a content writer or speech writer?
No, I write all the speeches myself, but that's something that I kind of stand by a little bit. I like to kind of sit down to the board and see what I have to say as well.
Yeah, because sometimes I thought maybe like they want sometimes you have to pitch for 1 minute, they have sometimes 2 minutes, and sometimes it's like it's very like hard to put all your content in only the limited times period. So how you handle that one?
Totally. I think there's a very clear message that I want to get across every time I speak. and knowing who your audience will be and knowing what that exact message is, whether that is just talking about your work or it's another message you want to get across. The way that I would usually plan it is try to keep it as concise as you can if you're at such a time limit. Like the Founders Live presentation is 99 seconds. And that's pretty intense to fit everything you want in 99 seconds. And trust me, they take away your microphone at 99 seconds, which is really intimidating as well. So, so I think keeping everything really concise is the first step of what I do. And then later on, kind of expanding, seeing how much time I have after I run through it. So make it as short as possible, run through it. And if you have extra time, then you can add all those little flowering details. But also remember, you always speed up when you talk at like public presentation events. So, so you can always give yourself a little bit of leeway. But to answer your question, I do not have a content writer. I write my own words and I say my own words, but maybe something to look into in the future. But so far, speeches are something that I really enjoy and I like writing them myself. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
this
good.
this
Thank
this
you.
is a good question, and I have also thought about how I personally write all my stuff, and I think Zofia is right on where you really want to think about how do I want to impact these people and what message do I want to send, and when you do that, you can then kind of have the top level 3 to 4 bullet points. And then depending on how you communicate it, it can be, you might write it all out. I would not encourage fully memorizing because then people, so Zofia, you've been to a few Founders Live events and, I've seen thousands and thousands of pitches. And the people that try to memorize the whole thing screw up because the moment they lose one word in their mind, they're like, oh, I'm lost. Oh my gosh. And then they actually freak out in the moment. And, I'm not sure how you approach things, but do you do the like main points, bullet points, and then you're going to fill in with words that are just kind of from your heart in the moment? Or do you actually map out the entire talk? If it's going to be 1.5 minutes or 3 minutes, are you actually memorizing the whole thing?
No, never. I don't think my brain has the capacity for that. No, definitely just go off of main points. If you have a presentation behind you, that is very, very useful as well. So just knowing what you want to say pretty much is better than fully memorizing, because Nick, just like you said, you mess up one word and you freeze. And that becomes very, very stressful and very, very evident to the audience as well. So just keep it natural. You know what you want to say and just go out there and say it.
Yeah. So I want to transition to really at least touch on, as a, you kind of check all the boxes or a few boxes, which is, a female founder. So, you're in that as a young female founder, you are in the underrepresented category. Have you experienced much in that where maybe even from your youth, people are like, oh, she's young? Or are, as a female, do you feel like you get passed over for certain respect or attention or opportunities? Yeah, share with us a little bit of that. And then, even how can organizations like Founders Live help?
Totally. I think when I started Girls Future Ready as an official nonprofit organization, I was really scared that my gender would be a really big breaking point for a lot of the work that I do. And especially that I'm doing work that is directed towards girls. So in Poland, the gender equality and women supporting women network still isn't as developed as it is in the United States. So that was definitely something that I was really concerned about. But as I started getting more into the work, I realized that my age is the biggest factor. There are so many people that I go to presenting my work or competitions that I apply for, grants that I apply for, and I immediately get the response, sorry, this is not a competition for little girls, come back when you're older. And that kind of stings every time you hear that back, because I don't think a lot of the work that I do is insignificant, but a lot of people just find it difficult to appreciate it because it's from someone that is younger. And that is something that was a really big barrier for me. Every time that there's that kind of door that's closed right in your face saying that you're too young, and just because of your age you're not allowed to do something, is really, really difficult, because I think it's really demotivating for a lot of people that are young and want to start something.
Well, and I'll step in there and say that I think that's horrible, because they're squashing this. You are part of the future. You are the future. You are creating and helping build up future leaders. And if they want to squash you, the leader that has the potential to influence a generation of women that are going to be the world leaders in the future, that's so short-sighted. And I think it's really unfortunate. And it, look, you've already learned this, but it's like, just knock on the next door. Obviously that's the way to go about it as an entrepreneur, but it's really too bad that you would experience that, especially with what you represent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think we know that we're the generation that will be the next leaders, doctors, entrepreneurs, businesswomen, and professors. But if we're not getting time right now to practice the sport we want to play in the future, then we're really missing out on a lot of the time and experiences that we can still gather while we're younger. And this really directly ties to us being in quarantine right now. We have so much of this free time. And if there were more opportunities for us to practice maybe what it's like to be an entrepreneur and to be a businesswoman or businessman or something like that, while we have all this free time, and utilize it for something, then it'd be easier for us to be making these really life-changing decisions that we're going to have to be making, whether that's applying to college or getting a first job, and these kinds of things that are coming so soon in the future. And we're only like 16, 17, or 18 years old, and you're expected to predict your whole life ahead of you. And if people are really cutting off every opportunity we have to see what we want to do in the future, then it's really unfortunate to not be able to see what that feels like.
Well, my advice is keep making noise and just keep doing what you do, because people will they'll start to understand it. They'll start to take notice, and they will start to reach out to you. Trust me, it'll happen. And so Tara Lynn has a question, and Tara Lynn, if you want to actually jump in here and talk, the floor is open. But just curious, I'm not sure exactly what direction your question is pointed towards. So if you want to, feel free to unmute yourself. And if not, I will, oh, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Zofia, I'm so proud of you. I remember starting my first business when I was about 16 years old as a fashion designer. And I went to a program called DECA, Distributed Education, out actually near Oxnard. And so it was a great program. And so I'm the vice president of Microsoft International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners, the virtual chapter. And so every month we have a meeting, and so Microsoft is there and a host of others that come, and with the WIT Network and Women in the Cloud and all kinds of attendees. It's well attended. And one of the things we do cover is diversity and inclusion. And so I think this would be a great opportunity. One of the things I've been discussing with our diversity and inclusion chair is that there's the spectrum of the age, the diversity in the ages now. Our daughter just graduated from college last year, and of course landed a wonderful job, thank goodness, right before this whole COVID thing occurred. And so she's very young in aerospace. But then you also have the older folks that are aging out. So diversity and inclusion should represent the spectrum. This age gap should not be something that, like you said, someone said, little girl, go away. Mm-hmm. We have to understand how important it is to embrace your knowledge, embrace your ability to be that sponge and soak things up and have that same amount of appreciation for what you bring to the table. So what I was hoping is that one of our meetings coming up, we have Microsoft Inspire in July, but I think one of the things we may do, because everything is going to be virtually online, I'd love to, I'm also work with the program chair. I was a recent program chair for the Microsoft channel partners. And so it would be an honor to have you come and talk about what you're doing and it's just to give you that platform. And so I would talk to the D&I chair, the diversity and inclusion chair, about that. So I wanted to make sure I had your contact information so we can reach out to you. And I think adults can learn a lot from you. And so just know that you have a lot of great tips in there. And I'm just so blessed and honored to get a chance to see you and hear you today. And I had a little bit of problems with my audio, so I missed maybe 10 minutes of the presentation. So do want to get a recording. So again, I salute you, very proud of you, and looking forward to you doing some amazing things. I can't wait. I'm just like, let me get her autograph now.
Thank you. To answer your question, yes, I'm definitely interested in any opportunities to spread the mission of Girls Future Ready, talk about my story, and how I can help people with spreading their mission too, and making their own little success. So contacting me is probably the best way, just through LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there, so if you just send me an invite, I will definitely respond to you. So that seems to be the best way to reach me at the moment. But while you're at it, you should also follow the Girls Future Ready social media. That is where we post all of our recent updates about the work that we're doing. So if you want to find out more, either visiting our Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, just at Girls Future Ready, or our website, www.girlsfutureready.org. And that's where you can find even more information on our programs.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else have thoughts or questions? The room is open. So, kind of going off of that question and topic, how, outside of just reaching out to you on LinkedIn, how can organizations help you and your, Girls Future Ready and your causes? Like, is there any specific asks? Are you looking for certain things in this moment, or are you just like open for any opportunity? Just touch base.
Sure. I mean, we're always open for any opportunity. So any ideas that you can have, always welcome. Spreading the message is really, really important right now, as everything is virtual. So getting our name out there and getting our programs out there is important. Another thing is, if you want to participate in a program, so we have opportunities for mentors in the United States to help girls from Central Eastern Europe as a part of our Her Story project. So that would mean that you can participate and mentor a girl and execute a project together. And that can be in literally any field, whether you're a business owner, or you're in media, or in fashion, or even in like interior design. We will find a project that you guys can do together. And if you would like to be a mentor, then please reach out to us, because we're always looking for more mentors in the US. Another thing is, we are a nonprofit organization, and we rely solely on the generosity of others to facilitate the work that we do. So if you are fortunate enough to donate to us, then you can donate on our website. Or if maybe your company does a matching program where you can donate and your company will match your donation, then taking advantage of those opportunities to support Girls Future Ready is something that we'd be really grateful for. because we need funding to be able to help more and more girls around the world. So, so donations of any kind and any sort are always really, really welcome and really appreciated.
Very nice. Quick thought. So initially it's been Central and Eastern Europe, and that is your connection. What is the future of maybe outside of that area? Do you plan on helping young women from different continents or areas of the world, or what does that look like in the future?
Right now, even though we have had people reach out from us, specifically one person from Argentina and one person from India saying that they want to start a Girls Future Ready chapter there, we are right now focusing specifically on girls from Central Eastern Europe. And the reason behind that is because that area has been really heavily impacted by the effects of World War II and the post-communist era. So the mindsets of a lot of these people are drastically different than ones you would see around the world. And that is the target group that I want to address right now. And my reasoning behind that is you can't help everyone. There are a lot of organizations that focus on different demographics, and the demographic that I selected are girls up to 18 years old in Central Eastern Europe, and that is what my mission focuses on. So if you're asking if we're going to expand, yes, it's a possibility in the future, but right now we really want to stay focused on our target group.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And the lesson around, focus on your target group, because your messaging is going to be a certain way, just the way of the interaction and how you organize resources definitely is influenced by, who you serve. So I think that's smart right now. So Allison mentions that she's a mentor at, ASU, down in Phoenix area. So, you two should connect as well, and there might be ways.
We're already on it.
Yeah, good. Okay, so yeah, this has just been amazing. We have a few more minutes, but I think a final question is, I guess is there, I've been asking you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for me or anyone else? Just
I want to ask how your world tour is going. That sounds really sucky right now. How is that going for you?
Well, it's stopped at this point in time for the time being. Yeah, I was in. I guess backing up, I traveled more than 60,000 miles last year. I went all around, and I was in Boston in August, and then I was in Boston, in July, actually, July of last year. And then I went international. So I was in the UK in October. I went to Africa in November, and I went to Argentina in December. So being able to spend time on, the first time in my life that I was in African continent. I was in Zimbabwe as well as South Africa. So amazing. And, I would encourage you, if you haven't yet, spend time in various parts of the world. If Africa is it's a beautiful place, beautiful people, and also a lot of challenges. And then, it was great. And I was just like every month kind of, shifting every 2 to 4 weeks. And then I was in San Diego in March, and everything stopped. Right. And I think everyone's going to remember where were you when the world came to a halt? And I was in San Diego, and I realized I needed to get back up close to home. So I came back up to the Seattle area. I'm a few hours outside of Seattle, but I've been here since March, 2 months. I've been just kind of stationary, and I will get back in motion actually in a different way. Like it's not going to be like it was last year, but yeah, I want to get back to at least moving around a little bit, being safe about it. But yeah, it's weird. It's been a very strange time where things grinded to a halt. And yet I think the frustrating thing for me was, I just mapped out what I did last year. I mean, I was in 30 plus cities, and each month I was able to plan accordingly. And I would say, okay, I'm going to be in this city. I need this flight. I'm going to get this Airbnb. I'm, basically I was able to plan ahead 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks. We can't even do that right now. We don't even know what next month looks like. We don't know what the fall looks like. You don't know if you're going to be on campus, or you're like, what is this school thing anymore? So I think that's the difficult part, is we can't depend on projecting and planning anything. So that's my frustration at this point. And I'm not sure what it gets back to. Like, I think that's the question.
Yeah, totally. Is Poland on your list to visit? I hope it is.
It is. So Warsaw and Gdansk, I'm excited, and talking with, obviously a few people over there. And I look, if I could plan, I would like to see a Europe. I think next year it would be really cool to have a full Europe, tour, which would be many, many months. And Poland is actually on my list for sure. Where exactly, what city were you in?
I was born in Warsaw, but my whole family lives in Łódź, which is also a pretty big city in Poland, not too far away from Warsaw. I want to say about an hour and a half. Although now with the new freeway, it's about an hour, so it's getting pretty exciting. But so my whole family is from Łódź. That's where we go back for like summer break or Christmas break to see all of our family. But Warsaw always has a special place in my heart as well.
It's on my list. So
no, I totally recommend it. It's a beautiful place.
Well, great. Zofia, this has been so great. I thank you so much. And look, I can just say that, we're impressed, and it's great. And I'm impressed. You can count on me for any help in anything, and, vice versa. Right. And so, people that are here on this call, clearly they've expressed that, they want to help. And, so, anyone on here, I posted her LinkedIn as well as their website. So reach out and, feel free to suggest ways that you can help. And look, all I can say is just keep going. And, whoever says you're too young, just move on. They don't get it.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me.
You're welcome.
So impressive.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, great job. Thank you. And for everyone else, thanks for jumping in here and listening and adding to the conversation. This is Founders Live Conversations. We do this pretty much every week, and it's exciting to talk to various unique, talented people around the world. So thank you all, and I'll stick around for a few more minutes. But if you need to take off, feel free. So thank you again.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for listening.